Welcome to your yoga practice. My name's Jenny. This is a Restore Yoga. So we are going to be using props today. This practice does use the use of props so that we can support the body and allow ourselves to kind of relax and release. So you can get creative at home if you don't have all of these items. The first thing that is very useful is a bolster. It's just like a big cushion. So good substitutes for this is a couch cushion, a bunch of pillows. You could get a big blanket and roll it up to kind of, give it the appearance of a bolster. So that is one thing that you are going to want. You'll also probably want a block or two. So, you can have a traditional yoga block. You can use a book, a stack of books, anything that maybe you have something that might be a similar size to that. I also have, I only have one block, but I have a rolled up mat, which I will use as a second block. If we get into a pose where we might need a second block. And then a blanket. It can be nice as a prop as well when we get into Shavasana to cover up if you get cold, or there are other ways you can roll it up, use it as a cushion, that sort of stuff. So some typical props that we will be using tonight and probably frequently throughout our Restore offering. So go ahead and take some time to gather those items and then settle onto your mat. We'll start lying down. So your choice, you can just lie flat on the back. You can use props to support you if you'd like. A few suggestions that are kind of nice is maybe taking your bolster or your cushion, rolled up blanket, putting it underneath the knees. Nice little support for the low back. Or any other way that you want to set this up so that you can release and just start to settle in. So take your time to find your restful position. And you're welcome to close the eyes or take them to a soft gaze as you start to settle in, but feel free to get some wiggles out, if it's been the end of a busy day or the start of a busy week. It might take a little bit longer to kind of settle in and kind of, settle the energy a little bit. So be patient, give yourself that time and space. And then as you start to settle in, just start to check in. Start to have a moment of presence. And maybe this is the first time all day you're taking some time to just see how you're feeling. Just check in with yourself. A friend of mine, he's been very dedicated to his self-help or self-care lately, and one thing that he does is sets alarms on his phone so that when it goes off, it's just a reminder for him to pause and breathe and check in and see how he's feeling. And I really like that idea. So this is just one of those times. The alarm has gone off. Let's check in. How are you feeling today? How is your body feeling? Any aches, any pains? Any injuries, any tension, any tenderness? How about your energetic levels? Are you having a hard time settling down, or are you running on fumes? How are you feeling emotionally? What's going on for you there? Maybe something that you're just feeling acutely in this moment, maybe something that you've been feeling for a while now. And we're not doing anything with this information. We're just simply observing it. We're gathering this information. All in an attempt to just be present, to know what's going on. Start to check in with the breath. And in yoga, we do focus a lot on the breath. And there are a lot of different ways that you can do this. It is very challenging to make it through an entire yoga practice, breathing presently in and out of the nose. It's the goal, very challenging. So just start small. Just observe the breath. You don't even have to change anything about it. You don't have to manipulate it. Don't have to do any sort of breath work. You can just notice it. Notice the quality, notice the temperature, notice the texture. Notice if you, or as you bring attention to the breath, notice how that changes. Notice if you naturally start to deepen the breath, you start to pick up the pace. Notice your emotional reaction to paying attention to your breath. A way to take the observation of the breath a step further is to work with breathing in and out of the nose. But of course, if in through the nose and out through the mouth serves you better, you can stick with that. It's just another way to help to harness the breath. And if perhaps you want to take the breath work a little bit further, with that nostril breathing, you could also take that breath all the way down into the belly. Taking deep belly breaths, pressing the belly out as you breathe in, drawing the belly down as you breathe out. Taking deep, full breaths, using the full capacity of the lungs with each breath. And if you want to do some pranayama, you can do some ujjayi breathing, finding activation of the muscles in the back of the throat. So make kind of an oceanic sound, like you're fogging up a window or a mirror. So you have all those options for exploring the breath. Simple observation, taking the breath in and out of the nose, working with deep belly breathing, and or working with ujjayi breath. Continue to check in with the breath, check in with the body as you release any expectations. Release any expectations of yourself, of your practice, of your body. Excuse me. Now that we've taken some time to really check in, we'll start to just bring some gentle movement into the body. So when you feel ready, if you do have any props supporting you, go ahead and gently start to push those off to the side. We'll meet up back flat on the back. And then we'll reach the arms overhead, stretching out through the legs. Imagine you're waking up first thing in the morning, nice big good morning stretch. You could reach out through the arms, through the legs. You could roll out through the wrists and ankles, wiggle through the fingers, through the toes. And then from this lengthening stretch, we're going to take it into a side stretch. So we want to bring the arms back down alongside the body. We're going to take this nice and slow, and we're going to give ourselves some time to check in after each movement. So we're going to start just by lifting the right foot and stepping that out towards the right. And then lifting the left foot, stepping it out towards the right to meet. Noticing there, maybe, you're getting a little side stretch through that left leg. If you want a little bit more, take that maybe 1 or 2 more times. Raising the right foot, stepping it out. Raising the left foot and stepping it out. And when you find a desired sensation in that outside of the left leg, pause there and observe. You're also welcome to cross the left ankle over the right, just taking it a little further, a little more sensation there. I'm feeling this up in the side of the hip, a little bit into my low back. Notice where you feel it. So you've got this half moon, a little crescent shape in the lower body. If this is feeling awesome, stay here. If you maybe want to invite the upper body to the party, Then start to lift the head, shifting it over towards the right, setting it down. And then lift up through the shoulders, shifting those over towards the right. Again, maybe you want to take that a few more times, creating a little deeper arch in the side body, bringing it up into the obliques. Pause, fill into this. And then if you want, you're welcome to reach the arms overhead. Again, just taking that side body stretch to that full extension. You could even grab the left wrist with the right hand if that feels good. You could bring in props if you want, if the arms don't rest all the way on the ground and you'd like them to. The arms could rest on props. So check in, just notice how this feels. Know that you can explore as much as you'd like. You can, take the pose, and if that doesn't feel right, readjust. Know that I want to give you, I want to be able to, I want you to have enough options in your practice to where you have the autonomy to direct your own practice, to where you're not forcing your body into a specific shape of what you think I'm looking for, what you think it should look like, but that you're really feeling into your body and finding what feels right, even if it's not what you think it should look like. If it feels right, then it's right. And sometimes that means doing something completely different than what I instruct or what I direct you towards, and that's totally fine. These are all just simple suggestions. You could show up to my class and lay here for the whole hour and nap. I don't really care if that's what you need. All right. Few more rounds of breath here. And whenever you start to feel ready, we're going to come out of this as slowly as we came in, taking our time. So if the arms are reached overhead, as you feel ready, just slowly start to lower them back down. Pausing for a moment, checking in, and then maybe starting to bring the upper body back towards midline, lifting the head, setting it back down, lifting the shoulders, shifting back towards center, bringing the upper body back to plumb line, and then pause for a moment. And slowly, when you're ready, starting to walk the legs back towards center. And just take a moment to observe, just to notice how your body feels. Maybe the left side feels a little longer than the right. Maybe there's just some more activation there. If there's any movements you'd like to take between sides, feel free. And when you feel ready, we'll start to explore our crescent shape on the other side. So starting with that left foot, we'll simply lift the foot, step it out towards the left, set it down. Raising the right foot, letting it follow, stepping it over towards the left. Repeating this as many times as you'd like until you start to find that desired sensation. Maybe you end up with that right ankle crossed over the left, and pause here. Feeling this again, even up into my hip flexor, that whole outside of the leg. And of course, you're welcome to stay here, but if you want to bring the upper body into it, slowly starting to shift the head over towards the left, and then the shoulders, creating a little more of a crescent shape as you open up a little more in the right side of the body. And then if taking the arms overhead sounds like an awesome option, feel free to do that. Again, you could grab onto the right wrist with the left hand. The arms could fall back onto props for support. And don't feel like you have to do this exact same thing on this side as you did on the other side. Remember, each side, they're siblings but not identical. They're related, but different, so keep checking in. Dropping any expectations, any assumptions, any ideas of what you think this should be, and just let it be. A few more rounds of breath here, continuing to check in with that full side body stretch in the right side, or whatever level you're taking it to. And as you feel ready, just slowly start to release the arms back down alongside the body if they were raised overhead. Taking a moment between transitions and starting to bring the upper body back towards midline, shifting through the head, through the shoulders, coming back to plum. And then eventually letting the legs come back towards center, uncrossing the ankles if they're crossed. And once again, just take a moment here to pause, to observe, and take any movements that would feel great here. And then when you're ready, go ahead and bend the knees, planting the feet on the ground. Take the feet a little wider than hip distance and just take some windshield wipers side to side. A little release for the low back, through the hips. And we'll take this into a twist. So keep the side to side windshield wipers going as long as feels good, and then when you're ready, we'll just drop the knees over towards the right. Now again, the knees could land on props. They could land on your bolster, your cushion. Now bringing the ground closer here. You could also slide something in between the knees for a little cushion. And if this twist with the as is not creating the desired sensation you're looking for, a few other things you could do. You could lift that right ankle, crossing it on top of the left knee. You could also cross the legs completely, taking a little cross-legged twist. You could also draw the knees up towards the chest, stacking the knees, and then taking them to the side. So a few different variations you can explore in your twist. Hands can be doing whatever feels right here. They could rest on the belly, they could come into a goalpost, they could reach out into a T. And you can kind of play with the depth of the twist, with the positioning of the left shoulder. You could raise that shoulder up off the ground, coming a little more onto the right side, creating a more gentle option for your twist, or inviting that left shoulder down towards the ground, opening up across the chest, creating a deeper sensation in your twist. Keep checking in with the breath. If you ever feel like you have to hold the breath to be in a pose, or if the breath feels forced or stagnant, it's a good sign that you've gone too far. Not just in twists, that can be in almost any pose. We want to challenge ourselves, but not force anything. And in this class, we're challenging the physical body, but not in, your typical power yoga kind of way. It's more just finding that edge and kind of playing with that edge as far as holding deep stretches. It's also finding that challenge for the mind to stay present, to be settled, the challenge of checking in with emotions in an observing kind of way, not in a overly emotional kind of way. So allowing the emotions to be without allowing those emotions to take over. A few more rounds of breath here, continuing to breathe. And whenever you start to feel ready, no rush, we'll gently make our way out of the twist, coming back onto the back as we raise the knees back up towards center. And if a little round of those windshield wipers would feel good here between sides, feel free to explore that. And whenever you feel ready, setting up our twist on the other side. So again, with the knees in windshield wiper, you could simply drop them over towards the left, allowing them to drape towards the ground or find props. And you could take that left ankle crossing on top of the right. That could put too much pressure on the knee, so be aware of that. Again, you could take that cross-legged twist, crossing that left leg all the way over. You could stack the knees, drawing them in towards the chest, and then sending them over. You could utilize props. And again, we can use what you did on the other side as a baseline, as a little guide maybe to explore on this side, but don't force anything. Finding a position for the arms, finding the depth of the twist that feels right for you with the positioning of that right shoulder, and observing. Noticing any differences in the body on each side. Noticing what comes up for you and the thoughts and the emotions. Remember, as we hold poses, the longer we hold, the more gravity is working, the more the body might start to release, and it may allow for going a little deeper into each pose. And while that can be beneficial, too much of that can be too much. So keep checking in, and if at any point that we're holding a pose, if it goes too deep for you, know that you have, give yourself permission to gently make your way out of that pose enough to where it's not so deep and it's not going to cause any potential harm or injury. Just a couple more rounds of breath here. As you start to feel ready, we'll gently make our way out of the twist, starting to come back onto the back, raising the knees up, and maybe another round of windshield wipers would feel good here. And then as you start to feel ready, we'll draw the knees in towards the chest. A little tuck through the tailbone, finding some length in the low back. You can grab onto the outsides or tops of the knees, or you could hug them in. Some rocking side to side might feel nice here. You could also circle through the knees, pressing the low back into the mat, getting a little bit of a massage here. And as you feel ready, we're going to start to set up a bridge pose. And it's going to be a supported bridge. So you're going to want to bring in a block or a bolster. So we're going to plant the feet with the knees bent and walk the heels in towards the glutes, as close as they come. And then we're going to want to puff up the chest, tucking the shoulder blades underneath. So we're exaggerating that natural curve of the spine. Press into the feet And then lift up through the toes, spread out through the toes, just to get that pressure and the activation through the ball of the foot, and then set the toes back down. And then with this engagement in the feet, with this lift in the arch of the back, then we'll slowly start to lift the hips up towards our bridge pose. Now, if you want a little more activity here, you're welcome to stay in regular bridge without the support. You could tuck the shoulder blades underneath even more, interlacing the hands behind you. It's going to be more active there. You could take a more passive option by bringing either a block underneath the low back at whatever height works best for you. Now, the block will give you a little more structure and more options for height. But you could also bring in a bolster or a cushion. Gives you a little softer landing, a little more surface area to work with. But really we're just looking to lift the hips above the heart. So we don't need to, come into a full back bend to be able to do that. And take a moment to check in. We've got the hips lifting towards the sky, the chest lifting up towards the sky. But I guess the chest is kind of coming a little more towards the chin, and the chin is lifting towards the sky as well. So we get this nice length in the neck. We're not overextending through the back of the neck, and we're opening up through the throat. Hands can come wherever feels right for you. Now, if this hip flexor stretch and little back bending is feeling awesome, feel free to stay here. If you do want to explore the back bend and the hip stretch a little bit deeper, a few things that you could do is you could start to extend the legs out, maybe just one at a time, just to kind of feel that out. Or maybe if you want to do both, maybe they just walk out about halfway and then you kind of check in and see how that feels. Or you could extend both legs out and notice how that feels in the low back. Working with little back bending could be some compression, could be a little too much in the hip flexors. So continue to feel into this. When we're either just in a supported bridge or legs extended, kind of a supported beginning of a back bend. Keep checking in with the low back, with the hips. Checking with that opening in the chest, the lifting of the chin. Just a few more rounds of breath here. Awesome work. And as you start to feel ready, we're going to take this into an inversion. Don't worry, no handstands, nothing crazy like that. Inversions are just basically getting the legs above the heart. So when you're ready, if you'd like, you could stay in bridge. If this is feeling good for you, stay here. Or you could start to lift the feet up off the ground, bringing the knees, there we go, that's what I'm looking for, knees in towards the chest. If you want, you could start to work with extending the legs. The knees could be bent, maybe, if it feels better with the knees bent, take that. Or you could work to extend the legs up. And then with the legs up, you can settle into some stillness. Find that sweet spot where the heels kind of line up with the hips and the tops of the femurs sink into the hip sockets, and doesn't take too much effort to keep the legs raised. You can also play with some subtle movements, maybe spreading out through the toes or pointing and flexing, maybe rolling out through the ankles. And now with this supported shoulder stance, if you wanted, you could explore larger movements with the legs. You could start to open the legs out into a V. You could scissor them side to side, or scissor them open and close, I don't know. You could start to take the toes overhead in kind of a supported plow pose. So we'll be here for several minutes. So feel free to stay in your inversion as long as you'd like, these legs extended. If that's not working out for you today, you can come back into the supported bridge pose, into a little back bending. So lots of options there for you to explore. Just find what feels right for you. Continue to check in with the breath. Continue to feel into the body. Continue to notice anything that arises for you. About another minute or so here. Whenever you start to feel ready, you can gently start to plant the feet back on the ground if they're not there. Finding that solid connection down to the feet, pressing into the feet to lift the hips just high enough to slide the prop out from underneath, and then gently starting to set the hips back down. If another round of windshield wipers would feel good, take that, drawing the knees in towards the chest, circling, or any other movements that would feel awesome here. Then the last little bit of love that we're going to give for the legs before getting off the back is we're going to take it into a happy baby. So drawing the knees in towards the chest, flex the toes back, and then take the knees out wide. Now you're welcome to stay here in this frog pose, bringing the hands to the knees, or to come into happy baby, drawing the knees in towards the armpits as the feet come up towards the ceiling. Toes stay flexed back, knees stay bent. From here, hands can come underneath the knees, the outsides of the legs, or grab onto the outsides of the feet. And then we want to bring a lengthening through the tailbone. There might be a natural kind of lift of that tailbone. We want to try to kind of lengthen it out and settle it down on the ground as much as possible. And then using the hands, not forcefully, but just to create a little bit of intensity, a little bit of sensation, drawing the knees down towards the ground. Continue to breathe. And if you want to embrace the experience of a happy baby, feel free to, bring in some rocking. Maybe you kick the legs out side to side if you want. Or you could, let's just find some stillness there. Awesome work. When you feel ready, we'll release our happy baby. And we'll make our way up to a seated position, but if it would feel good for you to take a little rock and roll, rocking along the spine, and take a few rounds like that, just kind of coming up and then rocking back. It can give you a little nice massage for the spine. And then if you want from there, it can rock you up to a seat. And if that option doesn't feel good for you, just make your way up. And then we're going to come into a tabletop. So we're going to want to swing the legs around. And we want to find a hands and knees position that feels awesome. Maybe the knees are underneath the hips, maybe they're out a little wider, maybe they're further back. But we want the ankles as in line with the knees as possible. You can double up on the mat, you can kneel on a blanket. A little extra cushion for the knees. And we're going to spread out through the hands, plant them down nice and strong, spreading through those hands. Maybe the wrists are under the shoulders, maybe they're out wider, maybe they're up further, maybe they're at an angle. Just kind of play with that. And then once you find like you have a pretty solid foundation in the hands and in the feet, it feels right in your body, start to bring some awareness to the spine. Gaze towards the ground as we lengthen out through the crown of the head. Lengthen out through the tailbone and then draw the belly in so to kind of bring some support in for the belly. So we're not dropping the belly down, but we're not completely rounding out. We've got a little neutral spine here. And then with this same activation as we press the ground away, we'll move through some cat-cow. So inhaling to lower the belly, pelvis tilts up, heart lifts, gaze lifts. And exhale, round it out. Tuck the chin, tuck the tail. A few more rounds like this. We're moving with that activation and with that control. So we're not just throwing the body around, but we're lengthening through the front side of the body as we smile the spine into cow. And then as we lengthen through the back side of the body as we round it out. So a few more rounds here. Working through that spinal flexion. When you're ready, we'll make our way back towards neutral, and then we'll kind of mimic that side stretching that we did near the beginning. So we're going to kind of wag the tail as we take our gaze over. So we're going to wag the tail over towards the right as we take the gaze over the right shoulder, extending through the left side of the body. And then we'll come back through center, wag the tail over towards the left as you take the gaze over the left shoulder, stretching through the right side of the body. So just some side to side stretching here as we shift the ribs. Getting a little stretch through those intercostal muscles between the ribs. Fantastic work. Making your way back towards neutral. We're gonna send it back to a child's pose. So if being on the knees this song is not feeling good for you, you can shake out through the legs. Maybe if it doesn't feel counterintuitive to a restore pose, maybe you come up, to a restore class, maybe you come up to a downward dog for a few rounds just to, kind of settle or get the legs moving a little bit. But then when you're ready, we're gonna come into a child's pose. So we're going to send the hips back as the head and chest lower towards the ground. And there are lots of ways that you can use props here. This is one of my favorite uses for a bolster is in child's pose. You can just, bring it to the inner thighs as you lower the head and body down. You could slide all the way back to the sits bones, so you have that full support in the low body as you lower down, maybe bringing in blankets, blocks, pillows for the head. You could use a bolster stacked on a block to create kind of this little ramp if it doesn't feel good to bow forward too far, so that you have a little something to hug on to. The arms can be doing whatever feels right for you. You could reach up and overhead. If you want to get a little more into the shoulders, maybe you bring a prop up there to lift the hands up, creating more space for the head and chest to come through, finding a little more opening in the shoulders. The arms could be resting alongside the body. They could be stretched out, whatever feels right there. And for my friends with sensitive knees, other ways that you can use props, you can take the bolster, you could take a rolled up blanket, put it across the calves, so that as you come back, it gives a little cushion. You're not having to bend the knees as deep as you come down. You could also keep the hips raised over the knees and then lower the chest down into more of a puppy pose. Lots of options to explore. Find what works for you. And as you continue to breathe into this, open up through the backside of the body. Breathe into the back space of the lungs. Release through the low back. And just feel the nurturing, the grounding of this pose. If you have the head turned onto one cheek, about halfway through, you can turn to the other side. If your forehead is connected to the ground or to a prop, you can give the third eye a little massage, a little release for the neck just by rocking the head back and forth. A little physical stimulation of our third eye chakra. A few more rounds of breath here. As you feel ready, just gently start to make your way back up to your tabletop. Starting to set aside any props. Coming back to that active tabletop, and then taking any movements that would feel good here. Maybe some of that cat-cow, maybe some of that wagging of the tail. You could take some hip circles. Again, you could come up to a gentle downward dog if that feels right for you. And then as you feel ready, we'll just meet up in a simple seat. Whatever that looks like for you. It could be on the knees, it could be on the sits bones, you could sit up on a prop. We've done some work with the legs, with the low and mid back, so let's give the neck and the shoulders and the upper back a little bit of love. So find a solid connection to the sits bones and lengthen up through the crown of the head. And notice if, as you're sitting, if you have a tight low back or tight hamstrings, tight hips. If when you sit, you can't find this length, you kind of have to lean back or kind of round out, that's when bringing a little lift in the booty, sitting up on a prop, even just a little blanket, a block, a bolster. I really like sitting up on a bolster. That just gives me a lot of space. But that little lift in the booty just allows you to tilt the pelvis forward, and then you can find that length up into the spine. All right, so relax in the shoulders, relax in the face. We'll inhale to lengthen up through the crown of the head. Exhale, drop the right ear over towards the right shoulder. You're welcome to stay here with the hands, or if it would feel good, extending the left arm out. And noticing how that changes the sensation. And then you can explore the placement of that hand in space. It could raise up, it could go down, it could come forward and back. You could even bend the elbow, bringing the back of the hand to the low back and drawing the elbow back. So lots of options to just explore the sensation in the neck, maybe even a little gentle rocking of the head. Just kind of feel into that. If this is an area where you have a tendency to carry tension, you can also bring in a finger or a hand to give yourself a little massage. Find ways to try to release some of that weight on the shoulders that you're carrying around with you. Nice work. About 3 more rounds of breath here in this exploration. Nice work. And then just to give the neck a little assistance, when you're ready, we'll release the left hand down. And we'll bring the right hand to the right side of the head and gently press it back up. Awesome work. Inhale to lengthen up through the crown of the head, and exhale to the other side, left ear to left shoulder. And you could stay here or start to explore with that extension through the your right hand. And it could raise up, it could lower down, it could come forward and back. You can bring the hand to the low back, drawing the elbow back. You can bring in that left hand for a little massage, a little rocking of the head. Just feel into this. Release any tension, tenderness, stiffness, stress, anything you're carrying with you in the shoulders. We typically store our tension, our stress, or traumas either up in the neck and shoulders or the hips and low back. Beautiful work. As you feel ready, releasing the right hand down, giving ourselves that little assistance, left hand, left side of the face as we press back up. Awesome work. When you're ready, we'll send the arms out to the side and just start to raise them up. Doesn't matter how high they come, doesn't matter if it's biceps by the ears. And then as we raise them up, we're going to bring the hands together Interlace through the hands, open up through the palms, and bring the hands to the back of the head. So the hands are resting at the head like you're getting ready to do a sit-up. Elbows draw back, finding an opening through the chest. Now our hands are going to be here not only to create a little bit of stretch in the shoulders and in the chest, but also to help protect our neck. So we're going to inhale to take the gaze up towards the sky. The head presses into the hands, hands into the head. This helps us from just dumping all the weight back. And then on the exhale, we'll start to tuck the chin down towards the chest. And if it's not too much, the elbows can start to draw together, giving gravity a little assist there. We'll just take 2 more rounds like this. Open on the inhale. Start to raise the head, raise the chin, elbows open, gaze lifts. And exhale, start to tuck the chin in towards the chest. Elbows could stay open or they could come together. Last one, we'll hold this one a little bit longer. So we'll inhale to open, chin lifts, chest opening, elbows drawing back, head pressing into the hands, hands into the head. Continue to breathe. Awesome work. We'll take an inhale and exhale, chin tucks in towards the chest. Head starts to hang heavy. Again, if it's not too much, the elbows can start to draw down. We're using the weight of the hands. We're not cranking the head down. We're just giving gravity a little extra assistance. If that's too much, just release the hands and let the head hang. Nice work. When you're ready on an inhale, we'll come back up through center, reaching the arms up towards the sky. Exhale, bend the elbows into goalposts. Bring them down. The elbows can come parallel to the shoulders. That's as far as you want to go. But if they're not quite there, that's totally fine. We want to draw the elbows back, but don't worry if they're not going very far. It's all right if the elbows are forward. But we're working to find that opening here. Now, without moving in the upper back, so we're not bringing the spine into this, we'll inhale to lengthen, spread out through the hands, and then exhale, just start to bring the hands down. Elbows stay where they are, and we start to press the hands down and then back. So we're kind of like a broken rag doll. We did this yesterday in class for anyone who joined. Inhale, start to raise the hands back up. We're just moving through that rotation of the shoulders. We're not bringing in the scapula, we're not bringing in the collarbone. We're not bringing in anything in the spine. Awesome work. Raise the hands back up, and we'll just take one more like this. We're just practicing our robot dance moves. Here we go. Hands down. And raise them back up. Awesome work. Now this round we are going to get the spine involved. So we're going to inhale to draw the elbows back. Gaze lifts. Maybe you bring in a little arching in the upper and mid back. And then exhale. Elbows stay lifted, but they start to come together. Elbows, hands, forearms meet. Chin starts to tuck in towards the chest as you round out through the upper back. Awesome work. And this is where we'll repeat. So we're getting that movement through the shoulders, but then we're also bringing in the spine for some love here. Awesome work. Just one more. Inhaling to open. Gaze lifts. And exhaling, start to round it out. Chin tucks in. Rounding through the spine. Beautiful work. We'll inhale to come back to neutral, opening up through the arms, and then reach them up towards the sky. And exhale, just release them down alongside the body. Fantastic work. We'll take one more inhale, sending the arms out to the side, raise them up. And exhale, just a nice gentle twist over towards the right. Hands can just drape down. We don't need to grab onto anything and crank ourselves. Nothing forceful. Opening up through that right shoulder. Nice gentle twist. A little breathing here. When you're ready, we'll inhale to lengthen through the spine. Exhale to untwist. Reach the arms back up towards the sky. And exhale. Just take it inhale, lengthen. There we go. And exhale, twist over to the left. And nothing forceful. We're not grabbing on and cranking. We're just opening up through that left shoulder. Finding a gentle twist. Breathing into the belly, if that's the breath work you're practicing today. Checking in with that breath. As you feel ready, deep inhale to lengthen through the spine. Exhale, untwist. Raise the arms back up towards the sky. And just bring the hands to prayer. Lower them down to heart center. We'll just do a little wrist stretch. So bring the elbows and wrists in line. Press into the hands, spread them out, create some tension there. And then simply dial the fingers forward and down, just as far as they come. My fingers are definitely not pointing down towards the ground, more like a 45-degree angle. And that's what feels best in my wrists. Maybe you can go further, maybe not. Just meet yourself where you are. Don't force anything. Awesome work. When you're ready, draw the hands up. Shake them out, roll out through the wrists. Excellent work. We made it. We did it. We're at Shavasana. If there's any other movements you'd like to take, feel free before rounding out your practice, or before wrapping up your practice. And then whenever you're ready, start to set up your final relaxation, your Shavasana. So it could be similar to how we started, lying on the back, maybe props supporting you. If, you feel like we spent enough time on the back today, then you can lie on the side, you can lie on the belly. You could even join me in a seated meditation. Take your time to settle in. Take your time to listen to your body and give it anything else it's craving. And then as you find yourself in whatever position you'd like for your final relaxation, allow yourself to just release, to relax, to give in, to stop trying, to stop doing. Hopefully even to stop thinking, which I know is not actually a thing, but our practice can help us to find peace of mind, peace in the body. So stop trying to do anything. Stop trying to be anything. And just be. If you have more time to dedicate to your Shavasana, I suggest giving yourself at least 5 more minutes, but as much time as you can carve out. As you feel ready, slowly start to bring a little movement back into your body, slowly starting to wake up the body and the mind. And if you're lying down and not already there, gently make your way onto one side of the body. Feel free to pause for a breath or two in your nurturing pose. And whenever you feel ready, gently making your way back up to a comfortable seat. I'll invite you to bring the hands to heart center, or take any other meaningful gesture with the hands. And pause for a moment to offer yourself some gratitude for stepping on your mat, for carving out this time, for giving yourself this gift of self-care. Thank you so much to everyone who has joined me in person today. Thank you for all of those of you who have allowed me into your homes to share this practice with you. I hope you all have a fantastic rest of your day. I see you, I honor you, and I bow to you. Namaste.